Hi, this is Abby Kadabi here, and I'm doing another video on combining and editing designs. And so let's go ahead and get started. This is going to be a little more entailed than the first video that I did. And so what I want to do is I have a design by Embroidery Library, and it is a hummingbird design, and I want to turn it into a flamingo design. So I'm going to select my design, and here it is. And so I need to delete this hummingbird. So what I'm going to do is use the freehand select tool, and I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and then I'm going to start left clicking and moving my mouse and clicking as I go along the way. And I'm going to skinny through this yellow area, and then I'm going to come up to his beak here, and I really want to zoom in close there, and I want to kind of get close to that outline stitching on the lavender. And so I'm going to just kind of angle that way in hopes to catch all the nodes on the beak. And then I will zoom out some and I'll come down around his tail feathers. And I want to keep a lot of this blue here and some of the aqua color and the green. So I think what I will do is I'll just kind of click right there and then I'll come up here and come close to that little feather there, and then I'm going to just kind of go around his wing and then come up here and then double click, and then I'm going to separate and hit the delete or trash can, and my hummingbird goes away. However, I still have some of his tail feathers left down here, so I'm going to come to my color chips and I'm going to right click on the black color chip and I'm going to hide all colors except this one. And so now all I have is the black outlining. And so I'm going to zoom in on what I know is the tail feathers. And again, I'm going to use my freehand select tool and I'm going to come through here and here. And then I'm going to really zoom in here and I'm going to do one of these where I just kind of skim this outline here because I kind of want to keep that little bit of a curve. And then I'm going to come up here and come across and double click and separate and delete. And so now I have just the outline of my lavender. And so I'm going to come up to the yellow color chip and I'm going to right click on it and I'm going to click show all colors. And so this is what I have left. So now I need to merge in my flamingo. And so I'm going to click on file and I'm going to click merge and I need to go to my flamingo folder. So I'm going to click on birds and it's right here. And this is also an embroidery library design. And so it's under here. And I want the smallest one there is. And so it's this one here, but he's still too big for my design. So I'm going to move him off to the side so I can work on him a little bit. So the first thing I want to do is to delete this grayish water that's around his feet. And so if I click on the first three color chips, I'm left clicking on the color chip. You can see the water starts to disappear. That does not mean that it's deleted, it's just hidden. So I really want it deleted. And so now I'm going to, even though they're hiding, I'm going to right click on the third color chip that has this X on it. And I'm going to come down and I'm going to split after color. And so now my three color chips, if I turn them back on, is just the water and I can move that wherever I want. And I'm just going to delete it by using the trash can delete function. So now I have just my flamingo and I'm going to click on him to select him over here in my objects order panel. And I'm going to move him into my design. And so I want I want this leg right here to go across this line right here. So I'm going to put him there, but I think he's way too big. He needs to be a little bit smaller for this design. And so I'm going to resize him. And so I'm going to use this resizing node on the corner of my selection box. And I'm just going to drag it down. And I want his head down a little bit below the yellow. And so I think that might be okay. And so now he's still selected, and I'm going to move him back up and kind of position him in place. And I'm not real happy. I think his head still needs, he's is in the wrong spot, so I'm going to do an undo till he's back to his original size. And so I'm going to maybe move him over this way a little bit more and maybe not make him as small. And so I'll try that. And it's kind of a trial and error. So now I'm going to select him again so I get my selection box and move him into place. And uh, that's probably okay. But I don't like this bit of blue that's coming up behind his tail feathers. So I'm going to again move him out of place, and I'm going to go to my freehand select, and I'm going to just come through here and kind of cut some of this away, and I'm just kind of guesstimating at this. And again, I just left clicked around and then double clicked at the end, and I'm going to split and delete, and now I can select my flamingo and move him back into place and make sure his leg is where I wanted, and that doesn't look too bad. So I think that's probably okay, except I don't kind of like this blue stitch that's kind of hanging out here in no man's land. And so, and also I think I have a little bit too much right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to again move him away, and again use my freehand select. I'm just going to skinny through here and come up here a little bit, make a kind of straight line and come up straight and then down. And I'm going to separate and delete. And so now I'm going to zoom back in, and I'm just using my mouse button, rolling it forwards to zoom in and backwards to zoom out. And so then I'm going to kind of position him, and I think that looks better. And so I'm happy with that. So now I'm going to join my two designs by selecting the first one in my objects order panel, and I select the flamingo, and I'm going to click join. And I don't really know how many colors here are similar, or I should say exact, but I'm going to try a smart color sort. I don't think I'm going to really reduce my colors by a whole lot, but we'll give it a try. And so I don't think it reduced my colors by any. So I have about 20 color changes. And so that would be my design. And then I would center it in the hoop, and then I could come up and save as, and I already have VP3 because that's my format, and I click OK, and then I'm going to go, I don't want to put it in this lavender blooms wreath because that's for the hummingbird. So I'm going to go back up to my birds folder, and then I'm going to go to flamingo, and I will go to embroidery library, and I'll click on this flamingo because that's where he came from, and I'll call him lavender wreath flamingo. And so that, and then I would click save. And so that's how I added another design. And I deleted a portion of a design by just using my freehand select and my points editing tool, and by hiding some colors. It looks like I only have two colors here, but in Embroid, when you have a third row of colors, you get this up and down arrow. So if I click up, here's my first row of colors showing the first 9. This is the second 9, and then the last 2, I'd have to click the down arrow. So that's pretty much how that works. And so my next video, I will be showing you on how to fix a font that's missing a little node in the applique area. Another design that needs some editing that I wanted to show you is a candle wicking font that I had purchased. And it's a cute little font, except a few of the letters are missing one of the candle wicking nodes, such as this letter U, and you can see it's missing this candle wicking node right here. So what I want to do first is I want to figure out where in this chain of little candle wicking stars does it begin stitching around the star. So I'm going to look at my Sew Simulator, and I'm just going to I'm going to pause it, and then I'm going to fast forward up to where the candle wicking starts, which is very close to here. And so it jumps right over to here. You can see that little red cursor, and it's on that node right there. So I know that is the very first candle wicking node. So that's the node that I want to pay attention to. So then the next thing I want to do is that I want to separate my colors so that it's easier for me to work with. And so I'm going to come up to my first color chip. You can really use any color chip, but I'm on the first one, and I'm going to right click, and I'm going to separate all colors. And so now I have 7 objects in my objects order panel, and the first 2 are for the U. The next 2 are the underlay and tack down stitches for the star. The next one is the satin stitch for the U, and then this U also has a little decorative top stitching in white, and then I have my candle wicking star here. So I want to take my candle wicking star and select it in my objects order panel, and I want to move it so it's not on top of the tack down stitch. And as you see, the tack down stitch and the placement stitch are very uh, close in color to the background, so that kind of makes it difficult to work with. So to make life a little easier, I'm going to come up to those 2 stitches. So this is the placement stitch, and I'm going to right click on the color chip and go to change color and choose from catalog. I always use choose from catalog, and I'm going to change it to hot peony. And then I'm going to do the same thing for the tack down stitches, and I'm going to right click on the color chip and change my color. And this time I'm going to pick dark red. I just want something that's high contrast that I can see easily. So now I know that this is the very first stitch in the series of candle wicking stitches. So I really want to zoom in on this stitch as close as I can get. And so I can bring it down here a little bit more and zoom in more. And I want to be in my normal mode, which I am. And so now I want to use the freehand select. And so I'm going to separate out this one candle wicking stitch. So I'm going to left click and then drag my mouse and keep dragging, and then I'm going to come through this little section right here and continue on around, and I'm going to separate right there and double click, and then when my object turns red, I know I have it completely selected, and I'm going to hit split on my main toolbar. So now I have a total of 8 objects in my objects order panel. So I'm going to move this off to the side for a moment, and I want to look at it because I want to make sure I don't have a lot of extraneous stitches. And it looks like I have a few right here. So I want to delete those. And so I'm going to use my points editing tool. And so now I have these little nodes that came up, you can see. And so this one, I'm just going to right click on, and I'm going to click the delete button on my keyboard, and it goes away. And again with this one, and let me look at the top, and I think there's nothing connected to this. So I think I'll just bring it down here and put it on top of that one to kind of lock that stitch into place. And so I think that's okay. But then when I look up here, I also have this little extraneous stitch, so I'm going to bring that up there. So now that I have my 2 stitches, I'm going to do a copy and paste of my node that I moved around. So I'm going to do a copy and paste, and then I'm going to pull that up here. And just for the time being, to keep things in the correct order in my brain, I'm going to change the color of that node. And so again, I'm going to click on change color node, and this time I'll make it orange. And then I also notice I have this stitch here that is kind of not supposed to be there. And so I'm going to do points editing again. And it's looking just at my starfish here, so that's not what I want. So I'm going to go to freehand select, and this time I'm going to click on the star here. Select that. No, not that one. This one up here. And so I'm going to click my freehand select, and now you can see I got these two nodes here on this line right here. And so I'm going to delete this one, and then I'll pull this one back. Oh, there's actually a hidden one there. And so I'm going to bring that down and lock it on top of that one. Okay, so now I know this is my new node and this is my original. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab my star, which is already selected, and I need to use my select mode. So I have my box around my star, and I'm going to bring the star back down on top of my placement stitch and my tack down stitch, and I'm going to look at it fairly close here. And so I know that this was this light peach star was the one I cut, and this is the one I pasted, the orange one. So I'm going to try to put those back in the right order. And so I'm coming to my order objects order panel, and I want this star right here to stitch first. So I'm going to select it, and so my selection box is around it, and here's my star right here. It's kind of hard to see, but I'm going to right click on my one little node. Excuse me, I'm going to left click on this node and hold my left mouse button down, and I'm going to drag it up on top of the star and let go and click insert before. And so now I have the new one, the original one stitching first, the rest of the stars, and the new one stitching last. And so now I just need to place them onto the star. So I bring this one down and I kind of nudge it into place here so it looks okay. And then I'm going to go get the orange one, and I'm going to nudge it, bring it down here and put it where that void originally was. And so that goes right about there. And so now I'm going to change my color of my orange node so that it matches all the others. And so I'm just going to take left click on this color chip here and drag my mouse down and click on the orange and set identical. And I'm going to do the same with these two that I changed up here because the first two colors were the same. So I'm going to uh, left click on the first color chip and drag it down and put it on top of the third color chip and select identical, and the same for the pink and put it on the fourth. And so now all my colors are back correctly. And so now I'm going to select all my objects and join them. And then I'm going to look in my Sew Simulator to see how well I did. And so I'm going to speed this up a little bit faster. And that's zoomed in too much. There you go. And so it's stitching the U, and it's almost done. Now it's going to stitch that top stitch, and it started with the first stitch and it came right around and finished where it was supposed to. So that was a pretty easy fix. So hopefully I can show you one more example of how to edit a design in this video. So the last design I want to show you as far as editing is a floral design that I recently purchased. And so um, it was almost 6 inches wide by 10.94 inches tall. And so I wanted to put this on a shirt. but I wanted the design larger than this. And so I used my arrow key or the node here on the corner. And once my cursor turned to a double arrow, I just dragged it up and kept moving it up until, I mean, it goes out of the hoop, but I'm trying to get it as big as I can. And so then I dragged it back down, and I guessed pretty good. I don't want it too much larger than this, or otherwise I'm going to infringe on the borders. But I don't know if you noticed what happened. I got these leaves on this design became all kind of, they're supposed to be kind of a sketch. And so now I got all these extra lines here that I shouldn't have. So I need to fix that. And so what I found the easiest way to do was to go into my points editing mode, and it brings in all these extra nodes here. And the first thing I did, once I saw where the nodes are, there's all these extra nodes in the center. I just took my freehand select tool and kind of arbitrarily just drew a circle in the center here because I want to delete all that. So I'm going to separate and just delete it. So I'm going to trash it. And so now I'm just left with this, which looks kind of crazy. And so I'm going to try to emulate the spacing here, but I still have way too many nodes. So the next fastest thing to do to fix this is I'm going to hold down my shift button, and I'm going to start selecting nodes, and I'm just left clicking on them while I'm holding the shift button down. And I'm just going to continue through and select as many of these interior nodes as I can. And this allows, by holding the shift button down, that allows me to select multiple nodes at a time. I'll get that one and this one too. And so now I'm just going to hit my delete button, and they're all gone. And so now I'm left with just a few stitches here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move this one over here, and I'm going to bring this one over here, and I'm just going to, and I'm trying to keep the spacing the same, and I need to delete that node there. And so now I can bring this one over here, and this design, the stitches tend to stitch down and then across and back up and across. So I'm going to try to mimic that. And so what I need to do here is bring, there's an extra node right here. So I'm going to delete that, and I'm going to bring that here. And so then, and I'm going to delete that node. And so now I'm going to bring that over here. And I'm going to delete these down here because they're just extras. And so now I'm going to bring this over here. But I have a V here, so what I'm going, and I need to make sure I select the node that's on the V. So I'm moving these other little ones around, and of course it's the one that's buried way down here. There it is, and then I'll move these back kind of up where they were. It's not real precise, but what I want to do here is add an extra node here. So I click on my node, and I'm going to hold down my control button. And when I do that, you see that my cursor turns to a sewing needle, and I'm just going to click on the line. So now I have two nodes here, and I'm going to come up to this node here, and I'm going to click on the line the same way, hold down the control button, and my cursor turns to the sewing needle. So now I have a node to go across. And so I can come down here, and I have a node to go across, and I'm just going to move that one there. And this is coming from some strange point, so I'm going to delete that. Oops. I'm going to delete it and delete it. And so now I need to add another node up here. So I'm going to hit the control, and so move that there. And so now I'm getting kind of scrunched up here in space. And so I'm going to delete a few more nodes just to give me some, because I can always add them back, as you saw. And so now I'm going to bring this node Oops, grabbed the wrong one. Still grabbing the wrong one. And so I'm going to bring that down here. And I'm going to add a node here, I think. And that's not where I wanted it. Let me go over to this line here, and I'll add a node. And I'll bring that line up there and move this line over here and bring that down. And click on that node right there because I need to add a line. And put it behind, but that's okay. I can fix that. Okay, and so now I have these two lines right here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to space this here a little bit and zoom in and move this one down a little bit. And the same thing with this V down here. And kind of bring that up. And then I'm going to click here. Oops, wrong node. Sorry. And let's see if I got the right one. Yeah, okay, so now I'm going to click there. Bring. And so I have my nodes pretty well spaced here. And there's a little bigger gap right here. So I'm going to try to close that up a little bit, even it out. And I'm going to look at it in 3D. I still think I have too many stitches in this area because I want it to still look like that sketch. And so when I look at it, I did pretty well, but I have these two stitches that are too close together here. And so I'm going to go back to my normal view, and I'm just going to delete two of them. So delete that, delete this one, and delete that one. And so now I'm going to delete that also, and delete that, and then I can just kind of rearrange these because now I got this gap here, and try to select the right ones. And I think that's starting to look a little better as far as spacing being the same. So I'll look at my 3D mat again, and it does look a lot better. It looks pretty similar to what was there originally. Now the only thing that I have to add is you notice that all of these lines have stitch points on it and the ones that I have don't. So I'm just going to click on a node here and hold my control button down, and I'm going to, and of course I picked the wrong one because so I'll just move that one down here and move that one up there just to keep it in the right order. And so this time I'm going to come down to the bottom, and I'll click at the top, and this one I think I'll click at the top. I'm just guessing. Nope, I did it wrong. And so I'll just go to the bottom again, and I'll click there, and I'll click there. This one will be a top, and I want to try to keep my lines parallel. This will be a bottom, so I'll kind of click there. Oops, click the wrong node. It's that one there. And I'll put that back up there. Oh, why does it keep doing that? So I will click that node there. Okay, there we go. And then this one. And that one. And that one. And put two there. And so let me find that node again. I lost my, oh, here it is. It's right down here. So I'm on this line right here. And so I'm just, since I know that's the node, there it is. So now when I go back into Stitch 3D Mat View, you can see it looks pretty similar. And I would continue to do the same thing for the other side of the sleeve. And so it's just easier to use the freehand select tool to begin with and eliminate a lot of nodes at the very beginning. And when you resize sketch designs, you'll have this problem a lot that it'll clump a lot of stitches together. And so you can edit it pretty fast. There's no real trick to it. You just right click on a node, and then if you want to select a series of them, like here, I just hold down the control button and I can select as many as I want. And so I'm just trying to eliminate as many as I can quickly. And I'm going to catch a few more here. I'm going to zoom in, come up here to the top, and delete a few of these that I know. And you see, as I move my cursor, all those nodes that I selected moved with my cursor. And so now I'm going to come down to the bottom, and I got a few extraneous ones down here. And so I'm going to delete them as well. And so now I'm only left with a few stitches here. I still think I have too many in this area right here. So I'll delete a few more. And so now I'm going to start spreading them out, the remaining ones. Kind of put them up near the outline stitch of the leaf. And so I need to add a node here so I can have this squared off at the top. And so I will hold down my control button again to get the sewing needle. And it really didn't go where I wanted it to, but we'll delete that. And I'll click on the node at the top. And so I'm going to click there. And then this is the node here. And so I need 2 nodes, I believe. One down here at the bottom to square it off. And I'm going to probably delete this node here. And then I need one at the top. And again, I think I still have too many lines here. I think it's going to be too dense again, but we'll take a look. And it's not really too bad because I have a kind of a gap here. So what I'm going to do is this is where the gap is. You can see the stitches are further apart. Instead of deleting stuff, I'm just going to start moving stuff down the path here a little ways to give it maybe a little bit more uniform look. This one, I can tell that one's too close. And this one needs to move over, I think, a little bit. And that one. And then I'll take another look at 3D. And it looks pretty good. Maybe this wasn't really a big issue here, but I'll go ahead and maybe move just this one node. Well, it's going to be more than one, but. And so now I have to add my extra nodes back in here. So I'm just going to click, and I'm hoping to go the right direction. And I did, so I'll add 2 here. I'll click on this one, and I'll add 1 there, and 1 there, and drag that back into a straight line, and continue here. And then I'm going to take a chance that I got to go this way here. Nope, went the wrong way. So I'll just come down to the bottom, and I got the wrong node. And so let's try this again. Oh, I need to do that one. And there. And so might add a node there. And this looks just a little, and this is too many nodes for me right here. So I'm going to delete that one and move it over. Just trying to give it a more uniform look. And then this one only has 1 node on the line, so I'm going to put 1 there. So and so then when I look at it, it looks pretty good. And I would continue to do that for this leaf over here. And fortunately, when I resized it, it didn't really mess up the flowers. So it was just the leaves that got messed up and the stems didn't get messed up. And so this leaf looks a lot better than it did. Doesn't have that big dark area in it. So I would just continue to work on those leaves. You can see it took me probably less than 5 minutes to do that. I just wanted to go over the points editing mode a little bit more in detail. So when you click on the points editing mode, it will change your design kind of to a white, like in this case, and it only shows 2 nodes. If that happens to you, just draw a box, drag a box around whatever area you want to edit, and then all your stitch points will show up. If you're confused about which way your stitches are running, you can come up to View and click on Stitch Direction. And then when I zoom in, you will see that I have little arrows, and those are pointing in the direction that your needle is actually stitching. So it stitches this one, and then it moves down, and then it goes across, and then it's going to come back up, and then it will go across and come back down and across. So if you need to add additional nodes, you know which direction to put those nodes. So if I wanted to add more nodes in this area here, I could click on this node here to select it, and then I would hold down my uh, control button, and that turns my cursor into the needle. And so my arrows are running this direction, so I would have to add a stitch here, and then I could come down here and click this node, and I could add several more in this direction. And then when I get to that node, I have to jump. And so this way I know which way I'm moving, and so I don't end up with that backtracking. And so, and I just wanted to repeat about using the shift button. If you want to move a whole column of nodes or delete a whole column of nodes, you hold down the shift button, and then you get the little plus sign on your cursor. So that means you're going to get multiple nodes. And so you just keep clicking on each node that you want. And if you want to delete them, you can either hit the delete button on your keyboard, or you can right click on any node and click delete. And so then they would be gone. And this happened to have double stitches. That's why it doesn't look like they're gone. So I'm going to do that again. And so hit delete, and so then they're gone. And so if I wanted to move a whole row of nodes, then I would again click on the first one, hold down my shift button so I get the plus on my cursor, and then I click as many as I want. And then I could just let go of my shift button, click any node that I have previous, and they will all move. And here you can see that second row of nodes. So maybe it's not as confusing now. When I deleted the first ones, it really didn't look like it, but there was double stitching in this area. So, but you can move nodes that way. So remember, to get additional nodes, it's the shift button and your mouse cursor gets the plus. And to add nodes along a line, it, it's like you're sewing and they move on down and so um, this one I believe is going, no, see that one's backwards because it's a double line. And so there we go. And this is probably a double, no. And I'm not sure what this X means here. So, but you can go and now if you zoom in more, you can see there's a little arrow pointing that direction. So if I found that node here, I could click on it and keep adding nodes along the line. And then if I wanted to move them all, I could click on the first one and then hold down my shift button, and I could move them wherever I wanted as a group. So I hope that clarifies how to use the shift and the control button a little bit better. And so I hope you enjoyed this video, and I will be doing more videos on editing, and I hope you stay tuned for those.